up, everybody? It's your favorite model, MoniiDeville, keeping it all the way trill. Today, thank you so much for tuning in, by the way. We are going to touch on a subject that is really near and dear to my heart just because I personally, myself, have a personal connection with the topic we're going to be talking about today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, as I do believe that raising awareness and bringing awareness to this issue is a serious matter and a necessary matter as well. Today we're going to be discussing mental health. It's something that's very important to me. I do feel like everybody should be concerned about mental health as a whole. It's not a you thing or a me thing, it's a we thing. So, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll get right to it. So with mental health, a lot of times people have, different stigmas and things like that that they associate with mental health. And some of them are, I don't want to say not true, because they can be true, but they are not standard. Everybody's mental health is different, and mental health affects people different ways. You know, even if I had a depression, if I was diagnosed with depression, that doesn't mean my depression is going to be like your depression. So just kind of knowing the different things that you can do to help your mental health, the different things that you can look for when problem solving, because I know with my mental health and the mental illnesses that I have been diagnosed with, a lot of times I'm not able to process things correctly. Um, so, just things like that. We're going to touch on today. I'm not going to, make a long video about it. It's just something to bring awareness. And going forward, I will be, working with different mental health organizations. And as we go, of course, we'll have doctors and medical and mental health counselors and, mental health activists and all of that, join in, on future videos. But today I just wanted to give my take on the importance of mental health and what we need to do, what we need to look for, what mental health can lead to, the dangers of not really getting your mental health uh, looked at and actually working towards a better mental health, because there are dangers. And one thing about mental health is it affects everybody. It's not a race thing, because all races deal with mental health issues. It's not a class thing, whether you're poverty level, middle class, or wealthy. It doesn't matter. Wealthy people have mental health issues. People that live in poverty have mental health issues. People of the middle class have mental health issues. It's not a gender thing. There are men and women that have mental health issues, and it's not an age thing. This is something that affects all of us across the board equally. So we do need to make sure that we address this and see what different things can happen when you don't address your mental health. I know for me, I am so grateful for therapy. Therapy actually saved my life. There are so many things that I learned in therapy about myself that I really didn't know. I knew something was off, but I didn't know, how to fix it. I was kind of ashamed to talk about my mental health at one point, because it sometimes, depending on why your mental health, is bad, or why you have mental health problems, sometimes you're ashamed to talk about it. But I'm glad you're tuning into my channel, because I'm going to be as transparent with you guys as possible on this journey of spreading awareness to mental health. So not only this video, but all videos that I post, I'm going to keep it all the way trill with you guys on what I have experienced. So, like I said, it's not a, you thing. It's not a me thing. It's a we thing. It's not something that, is determined by class or, race, gender, or age. And there are different types of mental illnesses. First off, let's take a look at the definition of mental health actually. Because a lot of times people just automatically assume mental health. They hear mental health and they think the mental illnesses. No, mental health is actually your emotional, psychological, and social well being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps us determine how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and the choices that we make. So these are big things that mental health actually affects. So if you're not getting help and you know you have a mental health issue, you know something is not right. You would know if something is not right when you look at things and you know you have no compassion. When you look at things and you're anxious, when you have no reason to be anxious or worried, but you are, you know, it may be signaling to you that you may need to reach out to somebody for help. You know, it's no shame in it. I'll tell you, I'm not shamed anymore. I did, you know, have some kind of shame before I started therapy. And I guess opening up to a therapist about, you know, what occurred and, you know, what caused my mental health issues, it was like, okay, my therapist is like letting me know, like, you're not the only person that comes to my office, you know, with these issues. Don't be down on yourself. You know, she would often tell me, you're very hard on yourself. You know, you may make a mistake and to you it looks like failure. It doesn't look like a mistake when it's just one moment that you made a mistake. It wasn't a whole ordeal where you failed. And, you know, different things like that, you know, really helped me. But that is the definition of mental health. Okay. So as far as mental illnesses and how that's different, mental illness is a health condition involving changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or the combination of, you know, multiple of those. Mental illness is associated with distress and or problem functioning in society. Like if you have a, like I said, if you're, you know, somewhere where you don't have a reason to be anxious but you are, so that would be problems functioning in society, work, or family activities, because it can also affect your job or how you know, view being around your family, or just your mood around your family, things like that. So this is very important because this is how you make money. This is, you know, the people that care about you, or, you know, who you grew up with, or who you look up to, or, you know, just, you know, social environments, things that you are putting yourself, you want to do, like going to a library or something like that. So that's how big it is. Okay, this is how we think, how we act. This is, you know, us in social settings. This is us around family. This is around, you know, problem solving. This is everything. So imagine if you have a mental health issue and you're not reaching out for help. You know, you're affecting all these different things, making those decisions with a bad mental health, and you're not really thinking on the right level. So that's one of the reasons I feel like it is very important to focus on this. And it's actually a disease. Mental illnesses are diseases. You know, it's not something, a lot of times people say people with, you know, depression and things like that are lazy. No, no, no. They're not lazy. It's literally something in their brain that is not clicking like normal people. I don't want to say normal. Other people who kind of are the status quo. I don't like to say normal simply because I said that with my therapist and she made a good point. Well, I don't know what normal is. You know, she counteracted that and said, well, I don't know what you're perceiving as normal. And I'm telling her, like, you know, I know other people don't have the issues that I have, and you know, the day is not hard for them like it's hard for me to get through. So that's what I mean by normal. But she was like, you know, if you go by that, it's so many different definitions of normal, because to some people they're functioning well, but they're doing dangerous things. Like there is no normal. So I don't want to say normal, but like the status quo. People that are not suffering with any kind of mental illness. I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about my mental health, because I don't want to start this journey without kind of putting myself in the forefront. Maybe hearing me talk about my mental illnesses, openly will help somebody else, kind of stick around the channel if they're feeling like they have some mental health issues, like it's fine. Let me go ahead and, kind of put myself out there. As far as mental health, I have been diagnosed with multiple mental illnesses. One being depression. There are times when uh, everything just seems like too much. Like everything is not, anxiety. It's coupled with anxiety, but it just feels like too much, and I'd rather stay in the bed. Sometimes I just things happen in my life and I just let them get out of control because I don't want to deal with it, because it's saddened me, because it's weighing on me, because it's too heavy for me to deal with at that time. And my depression is somewhat chronic, because it's always there. Um, if you are on my other social media, then you may see me be, outgoing and things like that. And you may be looking at this video like, what are you talking about? Like, you are very, like, outgoing and all of that. So how could you be depressed? Well, depression has a lot of different looks. It doesn't look one way. Depression can look any kind of way. Just because I'm happy one day, outgoing, and all of that does not mean that I'm not in a state of depression. I have just learned to live with my depression, and because it's chronic, I can't live every day being sad. I can't live every day feeling way down. So I have to get up. I have to make the most of it. I have to push through. There is medication, and when you talk about the medication part of it, some people don't like the medication, and they feel like, oh, it slows me down, like it calms me too much, or things like that. I know my personal thing with the medication they gave me with for depression was, it's different. It's too different. Um, it doesn't feel bad, but it's so different that I'm not used to it. And I don't want to say I don't take my medicine, but sometimes I forget because it's not something on my mind. But I can tell you it does have some positive things. I can tell you that I felt in the moment when I was, on my medication regularly. I was in the moment. Uh, so, I'm grateful for that. But when I'm not taking my medicine, I feel more like myself. And I feel like therapy actually helps me enough to, kind of battle it, you know? But depression is one of my mental illnesses. Anxiety is another one. Um, with my anxiety, like I don't trust anybody. Like I'm always waiting for the shoe to drop. Like it affects my relationships, it affects, my friendships, things like that. Oftentimes if a partner or a friend, even family, if they trigger my anxiety too much, normally I push them away. Like I don't want you in my life. I don't, want to talk to you. I don't want to be around you. And, some may think, oh, well, that's normal. That's fine. What is the issue in that? Well, sometimes because my mental health is not well, I have processed the situation wrong. and then I push them away because of my anxiety without looking to see, what headspace am I in today? Am I pushing them away in a good, like while I'm in my right state of mind, or, is this like a hypersensitive type mindset where they're telling me the truth and it's just not something I want to hear, you know? Um, I have a lot of trust issues in relationships. I don't believe anything a man tells me, honestly. I literally second guess a man on everything he tells me. He can tell me the sky is blue and I know that it's blue and I'm still like, just because I'm not very trusting. I have an issue being around women sometimes because I feel like I'm constantly, being like snubbed, like, and it could all be in my head. It really could. But that's how I feel. Like I live with that every day. So a lot of times, when I find a friend, when I actually develop a friendship with somebody, then I'm able to kind of, let that run its course or, do its thing. I have a best friend. I love her. She is such a blessing to me with my mental health because there are some times when I am just way out there and she is like, you know, she is like, I'm not feeding into it, and this is, how I'm seeing it, and maybe you're overreacting here. So she, takes me from here and, puts me here just in my normal day to day. I confide in her in a lot because I do believe she has a healthy mental health. Maybe not all the time, but, for the most part. Of course, sometimes you can experience these, different mental health problems, but they're not chronic. So they're not an illness. It's just, a time frame, period of time type thing. And gratefully, she doesn't have a mental illness where she's dealing with it chronically. But of course, she, goes through depression and all of that, just like anybody would, depending on the situation. Um, so depression, anxiety, bipolar. Um, so I can be living life fine one day, and I'm sorry I keep on touching my nose. My sinuses are draining. I'm sorry. But sometimes we could be living, life and everything seems good. Everything seems great. And something happens in that one day and it has changed our mood and the way we look at things and the irritation and the patience level and all of that. And that's a good sign, being bipolar, depending on if you were triggered, and for me, I have a lot of different triggers. So people that know me are very patient with me. They're like, okay, she really can't, help it. She has to process it a minute, and they help me, process it correctly and things like that. But I am bipolar, and I get triggered by, certain things, and most of the time it's like moral related, like I'm like a stickler for morals. Like I don't steal, I don't lie. And when I say I don't lie, like maybe, a white lie here and there, but honestly, I'd rather tell you the truth and see where we go from there. Like even if I can avoid a white lie, I will. Cause I just can't deal with it. Like I don't want the aftermath of, feeling like was deceitful to anybody. So things like that, harming people, bullying people, stuff like that, it really gets under my skin and it's a trigger for me. I get up in arms and, violent and hostile and things like that. I am working on that just slowly but surely, things that trigger me, I kind of take a backseat to, and I listen and kind of observe
without saying. Because if I said something, then it would be in my, wrong state of mind for the situation. It's not, it may be processed different than what it actually is. So bipolar is and PTSD. There's a lot of things that happen to me in life. I'm only 31. So I'm really still young, but there are a lot of things that have happened to me where um I'll have, a flashback of it, and or if something puts me in that situation, like, is, oh my gosh, like I can't explain PTSD and how it feels when you're actually having, one of those episodes. All I can say is, if I'm reminded of something that I went through when I was younger, or, something that traumatized me, automatically, emotionally, I am different. Um, there's a lot of things that I have experienced. I don't want anybody. One of the reasons that I actually wanted to, talk to you guys is to bring awareness, and the other, thing is I want to help anybody out there that is suffering from mental health, suffering from different kinds of traumas, and they feel shame. Let me tell you, shame will keep you where you are. It will keep you right where you are, not addressing the issue, suffering, sadness, depression, all of that. And shame is literally all in your head. All in your head. And I say that because who are you shamed? Who are you shamed about knowing, or about talking to, or about them? Like, who's shaming you? Nobody really can tell anybody anything. You don't know what a person has been through. So there is no real shame. And I'm a Christian. I do believe that God saves. And if God saves me, and, he washes my sins away, and, we are good, then there is nobody else that can make me feel bad about anything. You know what I'm saying? So the shame factor, that is one thing that I am totally against, and I don't want anybody to be shamed. So to kind of um, break that. You can share on my channel, you can subscribe, and we can talk about it. If you want to drop something in there, in my inbox or something like that about it, to me, it's fine. Like, I have a open door policy, with that. I don't want anybody to be shamed about anything. I'm very open about a lot of things. Um, but as far as things that have affected my mental health, I have been, um, I'm a victim of rape. I'm a victim of molestation, um, abandonment, um, verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. Uh, Never been physically abused. Uh, Homelessness. I've been homeless before. Um, yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. But though, I mean, I'm saying that's it, but that's not to say that it's anything small, because it's really not. It changed my life. All of those things changed my life. My sexual abuse started when I was 5, and it didn't end until I was 16, and then a few months ago, I actually was sexually assaulted. So, I mean, this is something that was ongoing for 11 years straight in my childhood, from 5 to 16. And then I also had an issue with it, months ago as an adult. So a lot of times that, definitely affects your mental health. If you have any issues, with rape, molestation, sexual assault, or anything of that matter, definitely reach out, and get yourself some help, because it changes a lot about how you think of things. You wouldn't think that it does, but it does. And it's very important to, make sure that you're okay in it. I feel like I have healed. I'm so grateful to be in therapy before the sexual assault that I, just went through months ago before that occurred, because who knows how that, could have went. I was already distraught from, what had occurred to me from age 5 to 16. So, you know, I'm very grateful for therapy. Um, Being a 5-year old and being molested and sexually assaulted, raped, and all of that. At the time, I didn't really, I didn't really think anything of it. Honestly, I don't think I knew enough to know right from wrong. I didn't know enough to know, hey, this person is doing me great harm. You know, I need to tell somebody. And my mom, has always been an advocate for, if somebody, does anything inappropriate to you, you let me know. But my mom has mental health issues too, from, similar things. So uh I was kind of afraid to tell her. Kind of, you can tell in your parents' voice, when they are not playing, like when it's going to be an issue. And with my mom, like, a issue is a real issue. So, as a kid, I was like, I'm not about to rock no boats, and my mama go to jail and all of that. I said that to say this: parents, if you have children, when you tell them about, telling you if somebody does something to them, um, make sure that you're not kind of showing too much emotion. You may, they may feel comfortable talking to you, but if you're kind of like, on the defensive side, like, I'm going to do something, if somebody do something to you, that may scare them. They may feel like, oh, I don't want to, cause too many problems. And I'm not saying don't feel that way. You can feel that way, just don't show it to them, because they're kids. They can't, process that like we do. But I didn't tell my mom. And uh my sexual abuse in my childhood actually came from multiple people, unfortunately. It wasn't just one person. I have been sexually assaulted by multiple people in my childhood. And when it started at 5, I didn't know no better. And I just, let it happen to me. And years and years and years went on before I caught on to, this is not right. And by the time I caught on to, this is not right, I was so much older and I had been through so much. I was like, I feel guilty. Like, I feel shamed. Like, I feel like I had a part to play in this. I didn't say anything. I didn't help myself in that situation. I didn't tell my mother. So the shame began to weigh on me to the point where I kept it a secret for super long. It's only recent that I just, told my family what happened to me, my immediate family what happened to me. I was 27 when I told them what happened to me. Like I stated, I'm 31 now, so I was fairly mature. You know, I was a lot older, and the abuse had stopped. But that shame actually led to me feeling suicidal and things like that. And I would, had to depict what is making me want to kill myself, because I'm a very career driven person, and I have not reached my career goals at all. I have not reached any kind of career pinnacle that I set for myself. So I was like, what in the world? Like, you're talking about taking yourself out the game before you even complete the mission. What is going on? And I had to reflect. And I was like, you know what? I gotta tell my mom, like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't lie to her anymore. I can't hold this a secret anymore. I need them to know so that they are gentle with me. You know, they are looking at it like, why is she always so angry? I was an adolescent and I was super angry. I was like, with my siblings, I was like, man, I'll fight you. I'll harm you. I'll do all this. And my mom is looking like, girl, that is my children. Like, don't do that. So, I knew back then it was just, what I had went through, but just getting older and knowing that I was keeping that from her, it was eating me up. And one of the reasons I didn't say anything at that age, or when I discovered this is wrong, was shame. So anybody out there living with shame, and I don't care what kind of shame it is, like, go ahead and trash that, because shame will keep you enslaved to whatever it is that you're ashamed about. Whether it be drug addiction, whether it be prostitution, whether it be being raped or sexually assaulted, molested, whatever, whether it be just your thoughts and things like that, you will be consumed by it, because you're doing a great deal of harm on your own mental just by being shamed. So this channel right here is not a channel for you to be shamed about anything. Going forth, I'll just kind of tell you guys about. I told you guys about the abuse in my childhood. I grew up in a single parent household, and me and my mom, we are good. I love my mom, but my dad was who I related to the most, just because I'm like very opinionated and blunt and very vulgar. Sometimes my mom is not very vulgar like that. And as far as opinionated, like, my mom has her opinions, but really and truly she doesn't share unless, she's asked. And she's not like loud and rambunctious. Like, my mom is very, calm demeanor unless you, provoke her or something like that. Not very hostile at all, of course, unless you provoke her. But my dad is like, very opinionated, very loud, very vulgar. And I just always felt more like my personality was leaning on his side of the spectrum. Like, if this was, the middle and this was my mom, it was probably, here, just more on his side. Probably, close to 50-50, but just more on his side. And, without my dad being there on a daily basis, I always knew my dad. I've always had a relationship with my dad. I've always made sure that, I don't go too long without talking to him. And he called a couple times, throughout the years and all of that, to check on me and things like that. But I just always felt really close to my dad. And without having him there, it was like a piece of me was missing. Abandonment can really affect your mental health. So, I mean, you may be looking at it like, I had a great childhood. You know, I had a hardworking, single mother, or I had a hardworking single father, or, I had a great, grandparents, two grandparent home that I grew up in. Um, just because that situation was good doesn't mean it don't affect you mentally, because not having both parents, under the underlining thing in that is going to be abandonment. Um, so, even if your childhood was great and you had, a great, support system and things like that, if you were missing a parent, whether it be, your parent passed away when you were young, whether it was a single parent household type of situation, whether it be you were split, where sometimes you would go to your dad, sometimes you would go to your mom's house, and you would go between both. You have to look at that as it's not the status quo. So where other kids, are coming home and they took a test, and they have both parents to say, hey, this is what went on with that test today, or I need help on my homework, or I just want to talk to this parent, or I just want to talk to that parent, and they're able to do that. If you weren't able to do that, subconsciously you're experiencing those emotions of abandonment, even if they're not detrimental. So a lot of times people don't really make that relation uh, to it, but definitely one of those. So abandonment was one of the issues. Verbal abuse. I can tell you, if you're not, if you have mental health issues and you don't address it, and you're raising children, or you're like a sibling, a close sibling, or you're growing up in in an environment with people, I can tell you oftentimes you won't talk to people, right? And I'm guilty of that. So I mean, I don't put a lot of blame on people that verbally abuse me, but that is one of the things that I battle with, just because I'm a very sensitive person. Because that happened to me when I was 5. um and I had so much shame, and I had so many different emotions about that, and I was keeping that a secret. I needed people to handle me gently, and both my parents are hardcore. Like, I just gotta be honest, both my parents are hardcore. My mom, she has mental health issues, but she's like, listen, we're not letting that, keep us anywhere. You still gotta, perform. And my mom is very she's dedicated. I can say that. Very dedicated. So the generational curses that she has dealt with, she definitely wants to make sure that her children do not follow suit. So, poverty and things like that. She was like, no, my kids are not, growing up in poverty. And she worked all the time. Do you understand me? All the time. Just to make sure she breaks that, poverty curse. Because that can affect you in different ways. As far as like being there. My mom didn't have her mom and her father to look up after her, as a traditional parent would. So she was like, I'm not, my kids are not going to know what foster care is. They're not going to know what, adoption is, or any of that. Like, I'm going to take care of my kids. I don't care who doesn't. I'm going to do it. So, she was very hard on herself. She was like, I don't care if it's 3 of them, and, I'm poor, like, I got to do something. So she was, she expected the same out of us. Like, that go-getter attitude, that I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to let this get us down. And she's still like that to this day. And honestly, I'm very grateful for that, because a lot of times I get so depressed and I can't get it together. And I talk to my mom, and she's like, girl, get it together. Let's go. Like, you have stuff to do. So she kind of keeps me on my toes, but just growing up as a child and her being that hard on me, it made me very hostile. It made me very sad. It made me very angry, and sometimes resentful. And then having my dad, who my dad has never kind of shielded any kind of, difficulty that he was experiencing in parenting. If, we asked for, something that costs, a lot of money, and he didn't, want to spend it, or, it wasn't in his budget or whatever, it was like, you're not getting it. Like, I'll see, and oftentimes I would hear him talking to people, and it's like, you talking to people a little rough, but my dad has mental health issues as well. I do come from a family that has a lot of mental health issues. I'm hoping to break the curse, which is why I'm doing this video. Whatever I can do to break that curse, I will. And hopefully this is something that reaches a lot of people. And when I start having children, they know exactly what their mom is about. And I'm able to kind of help. But verbal abuse was a big thing just because, each child needs something different. And my siblings, that of course affected them. Like, I'm gonna be a go getter, and me, I'm gonna be a go getter, but it hurt my feelings. It hurt me a little bit, to hear you say it like that. Like, can you reword it and things like that? So, verbal abuse, mental and emotional abuse, I will say, came from a romantic relationship. Oftentimes, when you have not addressed your mental health problems and you get into relationships, especially if they're long-term relationships, um, you can have like a codependency factor in your relationship. Um, you can be very hard on yourself. You can feel the need to have to prove yourself, things like that. And if you have a partner that has mental health issues or a partner that does not um, kind of feel equal, feel the same things that you feel, relate to you the same way that you are relating to them, you can actually experience some mental damage from that. Some emotional damage from that because they're there to love you. So if things are toxic, then you're putting yourself in a situation to experience a lot of mental and emotional damage, and that is not small. That is not small. That's affecting the way that you love romantically. So it's not a small thing just because other people don't make a big deal out of it. So that's where the mental and emotional part came from. Right now, I am single. So regardless of what partner it was, because I have been in other relationships. So I'm not sure if people know who I'm speaking of. I'm sure they don't. But if they, felt like they knew who I was speaking of, maybe you're wrong, maybe you're right. I don't know. But um, just romantic relationships definitely affected my mental health. And then PTSD, homelessness. Not only sexual abuse do I have PTSD from, I do have PTSD associated with the sexual abuse, but the biggest PTSD issue that I have is homelessness. So right now I'm a single woman and I grind on my own. I'm independent. I don't, look to anybody to pay my bills or anything like that. And I can tell you, at 31, you can't feel bad for, not having money for every bill to be on time all the time and all of that. So sometimes when bills are late or when I can't pay them on time in full, I'm talking about it reeks on my mental health. Like, it gives me a flashback of when I was homeless. It doesn't matter what bill it is. It could be a water bill. It could be a light bill. It could be rent. It could be any bill. My car note, any bill. If it is not paid in full, on time, mentally, I'm in crisis mode. Just as I was when I was homeless. Just because I don't want to go back to being homeless. Because it was very detrimental. Being homeless is definitely not it's not something to take lightly, and I won't get into homelessness on this video, but I'll definitely talk about homelessness on future videos for you guys to see. But being homeless is something that triggers my PTSD, or being late on bills, things like that. It really affects me, and it affects me big time. Like, if I'm already in a depressed state where I'm up and I'm, active and enthusiastic and things like that, being late on the bill will definitely cripple me and put me in the bed, and I don't want to move, and I'm just going to let things happen to me and all of that. And that's something that I was very grateful for therapy on, because in times where a bill would be late or something like that and I'm in crisis mode, I could speak to my therapist and she could tell me like, you do realize it's okay, So I'm not so hard on myself. Like I said before, I am very hard on myself. Um, I mean, mental illnesses can be overwhelming. That's just the fact of the matter. So that is some of the reasons why my mental health is where it is. Of course, don't be ashamed of your mental health. Maybe it's not the same as mine, but if you do have mental health issues, don't be ashamed. Let's fix it together. There are resources that can help. Um, so what are some mental illnesses? A lot of times people don't, realize what mental illnesses are. The ones that I just spoke of are very popular mental illnesses, but depression, PTSD, anxiety, bipolar, self-harming, that is a mental illness. If you're cutting, if you're self-sabotaging, if you put yourself in danger, either for attention, because you feel like you deserve it, because, you don't feel alive, things like that, you are experiencing a mental health crisis. Get help for it. Autism, postpartum depression. Um, it wasn't until recent years where women are starting to be open about postpartum, and that is definitely a mental illness. It is something that you need to, talk to somebody and reach out for help for. Um, there's nothing wrong with you, when you're feeling that postpartum. It is a normal thing to start feeling, but it's something that you have to work on so that you can stop feeling it. So postpartum OCD. A lot of times people associate OCD with like being clean, like everything has to be clean. Because there's a show Monk. He has OCD. And he's very very clean. People associated with that, but OCD is not just like a cleanliness thing. It's more so like compulsive behavior that you are like, I gotta be in control of X, Y, and Z. And I have a small touch of it. I won't say a big one. Just because I have so many other issues. Like I can't be compulsive and obsessive about everything. But things like my towels, you know. With my towels, I do not clean with my towels. My towels are for my face and my body. If somebody cleaned, the kitchen, the dishes with the towels that I bathe with, like I have specific towels for the kitchen. If they were to take a towel that I bathe with or I wash my face with and clean the kitchen, I am up there. Okay, we're about to fight because you have just ruined my whole mental. And now every time I use a towel, not even that towel, a towel, I'm thinking about the fact that you clean the countertops that may have, salmonella on it, or you clean the dirty sink with, like I'm talking about, it gets crazy. So certain things like that can be a signal that you have like a obsessive compulsive disorder. Uh, Maybe not just the towel thing, but you get what I'm saying. Like it's like you're associating, certain stuff and, becoming obsessive with it and it has to be this way. So, that's OCD. Eating disorders. When I was younger, I tried to like use eating disorders as an outlet for me. Um, I can't say that I was ever insecure about my weight as a kid. Like I've always been plus size. So I can't say that I was insecure about it. However, growing up in the 90s as a fat kid, it was not it was not pretty. Do you understand me? People were so kids. Okay, I won't even say people because adults used to tell me like, "Girl, you like I just want to be thickalicious like that." Like, I need me a little more meat on my bones. Like grown people would make me feel better about being fat, but kids, oh my gosh, they used to call me like Godzilla, all types of stuff. Like, oh my goodness, like Rasputia, all types of stuff. Like kids are just mean, like for real. But um I was just like, oh well maybe if I, just threw up every meal and tried to be, see what bulimia is like or, things like that, maybe I'll lose some weight or whatever and it won't be so bad. But I started doing that and honestly I was like, like I don't even like the feeling of, gagging. So I was like, that's not for me. But if you're experiencing like eating disorders, like bulimia and stuff like that, then that's a mental health concern. Don't be embarrassed about that. I'm telling you now that even I have tried it. It's just not for me. I've tried cutting. It's just not for me. Like listen, phobias. Some phobias, especially extreme phobias. Um, a signal of mental health. Um, I can say I'm phobic of bathrooms, and I have always been phobic of bathrooms. Um, it's due to something that happened to me when I was younger. It is related to the sexual assault. Um, but bathrooms definitely is a phobia for me. Public bathrooms, like I'm talking about, I will sit there and obsess over the idea of using a public bathroom for 20 minutes before I actually go use it. So I'm holding my urine for 20 minutes because I don't want to go use the public bathroom. Um, Phobias are definitely a signal of mental health. Um, and I want to point out that because um, it's very important to get help on that. Um, Having a phobia of public bathrooms and things like that, I actually ruined my bladder. And I have been working um, years and years and years to repair what I messed up. And having that phobia and holding it for so long and all of that kind of stuff. I've messed up my bladder really young and um, haven't been. I started working on it when I was like 14, on improving my bladder when I was 14. So it made a lot of progression by the time I was like 16, 17. But I still suffer with some issues for, my bladder just because I ruined it being phobic. So that's why I'm telling you guys any kind of phobias, even if you think it's small, you need to address that. That is a mental health issue and you don't want to do further damage. I didn't know that I was doing damage to my body by running away with my phobia, but I was. ADHD, ADD. A lot of times people have stigmas on that, and that's not okay. Like let's not put a stigma on that because if the doctor is telling you that your kid has, ADHD or ADD or something like that, and they want to, get them help, is not. I'm not saying, all the time that they're correct in their diagnosis. What I'm saying is, do not place a stigma on it to where, oh, my kid is not, because you don't want them to be looked at like that. If they are having that mental health issue, you want to address it while they're young so it doesn't affect them as much when they're older. Okay. Um, so no shame on that. Dementia, um, Alzheimer's, things like that with the memory loss. It is mental health related. And as I mentioned before, my family has, a history of mental health issues, and that's something that runs in my family. My great grandmother, um, you know, had trouble with memory, um, delirium, and mood disorders. And as far as mood disorders, I'm still fairly new on that, but my therapist is looking into assisting me with that before she diagnosed me to kind of see if that's something that I suffer from as well. But those are just some of the types of mental illnesses that you can have. There is actually like 200 of them. So even if you didn't, hear one that you feel like fits what you got going on, and me saying these, it doesn't mean that you don't have a mental health or mental health concern or illness. It's still something you may want to reach out and just see. Like it doesn't hurt to see. Um, a lot of times people are like, well, I mean, that's that's somebody else's mental health. Why would I, concern myself with somebody else's mental health? And if somebody having a mental health issue, then that don't affect me and all of this kind of stuff. That's a stigma that goes along with mental health as well. That it's their problem and not your problem. But like I said, it's not a you problem. It's not a me problem. It's a we problem. I'll give you an example. Um, Recently, there was that school shooting with those children. Very sad situation. I hated to see it. I literally was like, I got to get off of social media for a while because it's one of my triggers, as I stated earlier. And um, obviously, there's a mental health issue there. I mean, in your right mind, would you ever, go into a school and harm children that didn't do anything to you? No. You gotta kind of look at it like that. Serial killing, things like that. That is something that affects random people. That's not just, their family members, their children, their friends, no, these are random people that don't even know this person, but they're mentally ill. They have not, sought help, or they're not getting help, or they're not, listening to the help or taking the help that they're getting, and they're just reacting off of, impulsive, emotions. And like I said, I know I don't process things right with just the mental illnesses that I have. So if you have extreme mental illnesses, more extreme than me, and you're acting off of your emotions right now, you may be doing yourself and others a great injustice. So that's not a you thing or a me thing. That is a we thing. And we all have to be concerned about mental health. Um, as far as just like on a lighter note, let's say you're a mom or a dad with mental health issues. You're living every day with these mental health issues, and if you're not getting this looked at, and if you're not getting it treated, you don't know if you're affecting your child's mental health, or your siblings' mental health, or your mother and father's mental health. So mental health is not a you or me thing, it's a we thing. We all have to be concerned about each other's mental health. We need to be gentle with each other and open with each other and accepting of each other with no judgment on their mental health, because we want people to get help for mental health so it doesn't affect others. Um, your friends. A lot of times that goes under the radar. Of course, the mother and dad thing may be, like common knowledge or, self explanatory. But the friend thing, if your friend has a bad mental health and they're taking it and running with it, they haven't sought any help for what they're dealing with, you're hanging around them. You could possibly be influenced by somebody who has a mental health problem. How does that affect you? Well, you're following them. You're going to get into the same situations they're going to get into if they are doing drugs because they have a mental health problem. And you think highly of this person, and you feel like, hey, if that person is doing it, then, it must not be so bad. I can do it too. That's how it can affect you. I'm talking about it is literally not a you thing, not a me thing. It is literally a we thing. We need to be concerned about all of those around us. That's one of the reasons why I sought help. I started getting older and I was like, After a while, I would want to have some children. Not right now, but after a while, I would want to have some children. But my mental health is not well. I don't want them to have mental health issues. My mom has already broken so many generational curses. This is the one. This one, and rape and abuse is one that I have to break. So I have to, be on my P's and Q's about that. As far as helping, sometimes you're probably listening to this like, okay, so what can I do to help somebody's mental health? I'm not a therapist. I'm not, I don't want to hear about people's problems, and I don't want to hear, the downers and all of that kind of stuff. Completely understand. I do not disagree with you at all. I completely understand if you have good mental health, even if you have, a mental health problem or mental illnesses. I definitely don't suggest that you involve yourself closely with other people's mental illnesses. But as I stated before, being acceptant of others, making sure that you are not demeaning people or making people feel judged about needing help and not kind of, thinking on the right, scale. When you see, a mental illness or a symptom of a mental illness or a, something that you feel like is mental illness related, just being open with that person and saying, hey, have you ever thought about getting a therapist? Have you ever thought about talking to somebody about that? It's no shame. You make sure you leave with that. It's no shame. I'm not shaming you or anything like that. I want you to be better. I think, that's something that may signify, a mental health issue. And I just want to make sure I bring it to your attention just in case you didn't, realize, that is definitely something that helps. It's great for you to do that. If you see children, a lot of times children cannot express to you what they're feeling. They just know that they're feeling it. But if they're hostile, if they're angry, if they're anxious all the time, just for small things, you may need to just have them speak to a therapist, even if they don't have a mental health issue. Have them speak to a therapist so that you can rule that out. Because what if they do? What if they do? Being 18 or being 22 with health insurance and getting your health insurance from your own job and all of that, that's too late. That's too late. Already you have had them live through so much of their life with that. So, as soon as you recognize, different signs like that, like they're very irritable, they're hostile, they're violent, you know, they laugh at things that are harmful, you know, they're very sexual in nature, to say that they're kids. I know it's taboo to talk about. It really is. It's really taboo to think, a kid talking about sex or thinking about sex or, whatever outside of what we consider the norm. Of course, when kids are toddlers or 5, they start exploring each other's bodies and things like that. That's considered, normal. When kids become, 12, 13 years old, them starting to masturbate, that's considered normal. 16, 17, starting to want to have sex, that is normal. But if they are obsessing over sex, if they are having sex really early, if they are very knowledgeable about sex really early, these are things that you kind of have to look at and say, no, something's wrong there because that doesn't fit, the standard. I'll say that, the standard. So definitely, look at things like that. That's pretty much, the gist, like a summary of mental health. But if you're dealing with mental health issues, if you're actually dealing with it and you haven't sought, treatment and things like that, and you're thinking about getting treatment, go ahead and do that. And as far as ways to cope, in the meantime, in between time, days you don't see your therapist and things like that. You have to find what works for you. I'll tell you. For me, um, being sexually abused at a young age made me very sexual as a kid. You know, I was sneaking and watching porn very early. Never really told my mom this, so if my mom sees this video, she's gonna be like, "What?" But I was, sneaking and watching porn very early. Um, when I would watch movies and it would have like a sex scene, like I would be sexually aroused, and I'm when I say very early, I'm like 8 years old and I'm sexually aroused by, you know, sex scenes in movies. Even if it's not actual sex, if it's just like, they're just breathing hard or whatever, like I'm associating that with sex and now I'm sexually aroused and things like that. Um Masturbation. That was like something really big, to me in my childhood. Like, um, especially when I got my own room. Like I always hid, certain things from my siblings. Like I didn't want them to know what the hell I was doing and everything and be judged. So my siblings, they probably gonna watch this video and be like, oh my god, this will, but but just, being honest, when I got my own room, it was like go time, baby. I was like, oh yes, I'm about to be up in there. So masturbating, I definitely indulged in that. I would always, masturbate when I felt the need to. Uh, um, because my sexual abuse occurred um, from females and males, I didn't really have like I wasn't really outward with my, you know, sexual I don't even know what you call it. Just like sexuality and things like that. Um, it wasn't like, I would look at somebody, and be like, oh my gosh, I want to have sex with them at, 8. It was more so an internal thing. Like this is something I'm going through. This is something I want, I don't want anybody else to, touch me like that. I don't want, anybody to kiss me. I don't want anybody to, look at my booty. I don't want anybody to look at me naked. Like things like that um, occurred when I was younger, but um, definitely when by myself, I was very sexual in nature. I loved looking at my body naked and seeing what I could do with different body parts. That might be TMI, but I mean, we're keeping it honest on this channel. But I knew I had issues then, when I was going through all of that. And when I started getting older, I was like, man, keeping it in is fueling a feeling of being promiscuous. And being promiscuous, was something that my mom, shunned. Like she was like, don't be out here, having sex with, X, Y, and Z and, a lot of people and wrap it up and all of this kind of stuff. But it was getting to a point where it's like, okay, well, I'm, pleasuring myself all the time. Like I just want to have sex with somebody else or whatever. When I got like, 16, 17, I was like, dang, I just want to have sex or whatever with this person. And then that's when I started like, wanting to have sex with other people when I, got older or whatever. And when the abuse stopped, actually, I was 16 when the abuse stopped. And once the abuse stopped, it was like, okay, I didn't choose who I had sex with all my life, even though I've had a, sex life. So now I want to choose who I have sex with. And I'm talking about it was just like, oh my God, he fine. I do it with him and all this kind of stuff. And I also was battling with my sexuality because, like I said, I was abused by men and women, or male and female, I'll say. So I was like, am I gay? Like, do I want to have sex with a girl? Do I like girls? Like, I don't know if that makes me gay. I don't know, if that makes me bi since I had sex with, I've had sexual activity with a man and a female. I don't know if that makes me bi. Like, should I just stay with that and everything? And I'm grateful that I didn't, go off the rails with that because, years later I'm a straight woman. I definitely um have an attraction sometimes to women. Like I will look at a woman and be like, oh my god, she's fine, But as far as sex, like actually taking it there, um, not so much. I can say, there are some women I look at and I'm like, maybe, But I honestly, I really feel more so that I am a straight woman. I feel like just what I went through kind of makes me feel like, susceptible to um, engaging with women. But I do consider myself a straight woman. I like men, you know. That's my preference. That's my main preference. And it's not very often at all that I see a woman and I'm like, ooh, I'll take it there with her. So, becoming when I was, 16, 17 years old, I used to look at, girls too, and I used to be like, maybe, because I didn't really know. I was, just making decisions for myself sexually. So there was a lot of confusion there in my sexuality, and that's one of the things that made me say, you know what, don't go out here just, having sex and engaging in sexual activity just yet, because there are some things that obviously you need to work out because you don't even know what you are, and you can't just take it that far just experimenting. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. So in my mind there was a very promiscuous, factor when I was 16, 17. I was like, I will do it to him, I will do it to her, I will do it, and it was like, I'm glad I didn't take that and run with it because I was, thinking in the mind of an abused person and not a well person. Um, One of the things that helped me with that though was kind of being vocal about what I do like. What I knew I liked, I was like, I'm going to be vocal about it. If it's something that other people look at as like, oh my gosh, that's extreme. I didn't care. I'm still not a person that cares much. I'm still very sexually liberated. You know, I don't feel the need to hide anything that I like. We are all adults, and what you like is what you like. A lot of times I get, oh my gosh, you're so vulgar. Oh my gosh, like so raunchy. And I just got to be true to who I am because that is my outlet. That is how I deal with the inner promiscuous type thing. In my mind, I have sex with everybody. In my mind, like it's a fantasy about everybody, just about. If they fine to me or whatever, and I feel like they got a little something going on, then in my mind, I am sexualizing these people. So because that's only in my mind, what I'm gonna actually put out into reality is what I like, and I'm going to be confident in that because it's something that helps me, not become promiscuous and you know, do things that I know I don't want to do. That's how I deal with that. As far as the men women thing, um, I still battle with that sometimes. Like if I see a woman that I am literally attracted to, like I think she's fine. Sometimes I fantasize about that woman over and over, and I'm just like, I don't know if that makes me bisexual or not. I don't act on it because I don't know. I don't want to, bring somebody else into my issue, especially if I do it and then I'm like, oh no, like this ain't me. This, So uh, because I know how I am sexually, I also try to be monogamous. If I'm not in a relationship, I try to make sure that I have like a set sex partner. Um, just because it makes me feel better. If you feel like having sex with multiple people or something like that helps you, then that's your business. There is no shame on that. But that's how I deal with it. As far as uh, being irritable and my temper and all of that, I am still working on that because I'm very much violent. Very much so have a terrible temper. Um, I get irritable fast, when I'm triggered. So things like that I'm still working on. But how I deal with that is um, if I feel a certain way, if I feel like I'm gonna punch him in the nose, or you know I'm gonna hurt that person or something like that. Um, I'm grateful for emojis. Like in social media, if I see something and I'm upset about it or whatever, and I'm like, won't hurt you or something like that, I use the emoji. In my regular life, if I'm heightened like that, I tell people. If you're talking to me in my regular life and I'm getting hostile, I'm going to tell you right then and there. I'm getting very hostile. You're upsetting me, and I don't want to get violent. I'm letting you know because I'm trying to tell you where I'm going. Now, I don't know if that's healthy or not. I really don't. I don't know if that's, something that's okay because my moral compass, as far as lying and things like that is good. But when it comes to violence, my moral compass is like, it don't work right. So I don't know if that's wrong, but I know for me, it makes me feel better because it gives other people an opportunity to have a say so in it. If they're like, why are you getting violent? And I'm not, doing anything to you. I don't like that. Like, then now what you have done is you have told me that's not how you intended it. So I can process that better. And you're telling me it's not that serious and you're not thinking of getting violent. So it takes like any kind of threat of, maybe you going to, get violent too and things like that. So, I mean, it may not be healthy, but to me, it's helping me process. So it takes me down from that 10 to that 2. Um, but that's how I deal with my temper. I also try to isolate myself sometimes. If I feel like I'm extremely irritable and hostile, I try to isolate myself so that I'm not, being triggered and I'm not putting anybody else in jeopardy of my issue. Um, Abandonment, verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. Um, because I know who kind of brought that into my life, I'm very vocal. If it was a parent that I felt like was, verbally abusing me when I was a kid, what I'm gonna do as an adult is let them know. I don't like that. I don't like when you talk to me like that. I don't like arguing with you. Arguing with you feels, you know, different to me. I don't like it. You know, um, I'm going to be vocal about it. I'm an adult. I don't have to put up with that. That's and if it's a partner, I make sure I mirror them. I ask them, would you like for somebody to do X, Y, and Z to you? And if they're like, I'm not doing that, okay, well, that's how I see it. I'm very vocal about, mental abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, only because those are things like if somebody hits you, physical abuse, they can't deny that they hit you. You know, you saw it, they saw it, whatever. Verbal abuse, mental abuse, and emotional abuse is subjective. They may not feel like they're doing anything wrong. So I do make sure that I'm vocal about it, because if they continue, then obviously they are meaning to hurt me. PTSD is a up and down with that one. Definitely something I have to seek therapy for. But that's how I cope with things. I don't really have like a self-esteem issue or anything like that, so I can't, speak about, self-esteem and all of that kind of stuff. Different mental illnesses that are related to self-esteem. But that's how I'm dealing with my personal issues. But I can tell you, going to therapy, don't listen to me. I'm not a medical personnel for mental health. I am a person that struggles with mental health, and I just want to bring awareness to it so that you're not shamed to get help, so that you don't feel like you're alone in this, because you are certainly not alone. There are so many people that experience mental health. It's not even funny. Like, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, like, of people that experience mental health. Actually, 50% of the population is going to experience a mental health problem in their lifetime. 25% of the population is going to live with a mental illness all of their life. So that tells you, like, you're definitely not alone. Okay, it's not something to feel ashamed about, and it's not a you thing. It's not a me thing. It's a we thing. Okay. I want to thank you so much for tuning into my channel and speaking about mental health with me. Definitely feeling vulnerable now that you guys, know about all my kinks and hang-ups. But if it helps one person, and it pushes them to seek help, honestly, I'm grateful. So I will do it a million times over if that means that it helps somebody else with their mental health. Definitely going to be speaking about mental health some more in life. I am a model. I don't know, who's visiting me for what. I don't know, who knows me. I don't know if it's, somebody that knows me personally, or if it's just some a stranger just visiting my channel. But want to let you know I am a model. I do model. But as far as on an intellectual, platform, mental health is going to be something that you're going to always hear me speak about. Things that are related to mental health is something we're going to touch on this channel right here. We're going to keep it all the way real about mental health. Okay. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Click the subscribe button so you know when different videos are coming up. On all platforms, MoniiDeville is the name. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, Snapchat, and TikTok, and YouTube. So, MoniiDeville on all platforms. And thank you so much for tuning into my channel today. It's not a you thing. It's not a me thing. It's a we thing. Improving mental health, breaking those barriers, ending those stigmas. We're doing all of that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.